We've got the consensus that we've long been looking for. We're very close on consensus. Like I said, 90% of our conference was already there. 10% was not. And now we're having the kinds of productive conversations among our members, interacting through the committees of jurisdiction and with the administration.
So somehow, House Republicans and Donald Trump believe that the dynamics under which they were crushed 2 weeks ago or so have somehow fundamentally changed enough that they can bring back an Obamacare repeal and replace program and not be utterly embarrassed this time around. Now, if that sounds stupid, that's because it is. So therefore, you have to ask, what is actually going on here? House Freedom Caucus members privately say Donald Trump is setting them up to fail again. There's been a debate going on about whether or not it was the Freedom Caucus or the moderates that took down Obamacare repeal and replace, or TrumpCare. Let's just go with that.
The rap on the Freedom Caucus is that you refuse to take yes for an answer. The president met, I don't know if were you in the meeting on Thursday? Yes. So one of the things that you guys were demanding was you wanted the essential health benefits removed. And the president agreed to remove mandates on what has to be in coverage, things like maternity care and mental health coverage. And you pocketed that, and then you said, no, we need more. We need you to remove the protection for people with pre-existing conditions.
The Freedom Caucus people say, look, you had dozens of moderates who didn't want to go along with this TrumpCare bill. Why are you blaming us just because we were the ones that were out in public on it? And so the thinking is, well, maybe they want to come back at the Freedom Caucus and say, look, we gave them everything they wanted and they're still against it, in order to kind of set them up. But the political strategy behind that is totally unclear. If you want to take out somebody who's a Freedom Caucus member, the only way to do that in a Republican primary is to take them on from the right. Donald Trump is trying to take them on from the left. And the only way that works is in a general election. So is Donald Trump going to find kind of a Trumpian Democrat to run in, Mark Meadows' North Carolina district and endorse a Democrat? If it's not about taking out Freedom Caucus members and it's not about passing a bill into law, then what else could be going on? I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, which is the special election in suburban Atlanta, where Jonathan Ossoff is fighting a whole field of Republicans in a primary that will happen on April 18th. And in fact, it looks like, without question, he's going to finish first in this primary. That doesn't mean he wins. If he doesn't get 50%, they have to go to, I believe, June 20th for a runoff between him and whoever comes in second, who will probably be Karen Handel at this point. But Steve Bannon is watching this race very closely, and he knows that if Ossoff is able to pull off a 50% win down there, the Republican coalition just fractures. You have 100 Republicans who immediately say, I'm not working with Trump on anything. Look at his popularity. His popularity is so bad that he just lost Newt Gingrich's seat in Georgia, which was most recently held by Tom Price. And so, in other words, what they might be trying to do here, and this is what I think is happening, is they're trying to pass something, anything, through the House of Representatives so they can tell their base, look, we did it. Because right now, they had been telling their base for 7 years that they were going to repeal Obamacare. The first chance they got, they slipped and fell and gave up immediately. And so if you're a Republican voter, what incentive do you have to come out on April 18th and vote for this party? So Trump took Rand Paul out for a round of golf. I'm sure that was interesting. What Trump is putting forward here to the Freedom Caucus is something that Rand Paul wants to do. Basically, what they're doing is taking away the pre-existing conditions protection. So, under Obamacare, if you have a pre-existing condition, insurance companies can only charge you so much. They can't charge you extra, because you had gallbladder surgery a couple years ago, or because you had cancer when you were in your 20s and now you're in your, the rest of your life before Obamacare, you were basically uninsurable because it might come back at any moment. Republicans would basically bring that system back, and they would then create, they would allow states to bring it back, which is kind of a compromise, and they wouldn't force states to move away from the pre-existing condition. They would allow them to if they wanted, and then if they did, they'd give them high-risk pools, which is, politically speaking, a terribly named entity. So don't worry, you can go in the high-risk pool. Like Like, if you compare that, usually Democrats are terrible at messaging, but that's awful. If you compare it to what Democrats are advocating for, they called it essential health benefits. Really hard to go around the campaign trail saying, yes, the reason I supported TrumpCare is because it did away with essential health benefits. The moderate Republicans are meeting as we speak in the Capitol to talk about this. The problem that Trump is going to face is, as they make it more radical, you lose the centrist and kind of traditionally conservative Republicans who don't want to go back and say, yeah, we did away with the pre-existing conditions protection, because for years, while they were saying, we're going to repeal Obamacare, elect us, we're going to repeal Obamacare, they'd have some constituents say, well, what about those of us who have pre-existing conditions, which adds up to something like 120 million and counting Americans? And they would always say, don't worry, those people will be taken care of. You know, there's just no political, ethical, moral, or any other argument other than profit-driven argument that you can make that people who have pre-existing conditions should be screwed out of the healthcare market. And so that's the political jam that they're going to run into.